to any educator. We also offer green boxes, which are rolling suitcases full of STEM content that a teacher or educator can bring to life. These are also available for libraries. If you're interested in bringing STEM into your library, that's something you might want to contact us a little bit later. We also offer some of our scientists as guest speakers. So if you ever want to do a science lecture, science opportunity, we would welcome that. Now, this particular project, NASA HOLA, is a grant that we wrote together with the Nevada State Library, Archives and Public Records. And the intent behind the grant is really to bring NASA content into our community and make it available and accessible to our rurals and to basically any Nevadan. And what better way to do that than through the libraries? So I wanted to give you a little bit of inspiration and background about NASA, how I came to be involved in this and the NASA content, and introduce and invite one of my good friends from the Kennedy Space Center. She is an education specialist, and she's going to give us a little bit of background as to the NASA Commercial Crew Program, which was the inspiration for designing this NASA HOLA kit. So welcome you, Jennifer Hutchins.
Thanks so much, Craig, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you Nevadans. I love your state. I used to live out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I used to go skiing in your state, so just love it. Love Nevada. So yeah, so I'm going to just do a brief overview of what the Commercial Crew Program is at NASA. And so if you can go to the next slide, I'll just tell you real quick about myself so you know who I am. I sit currently at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I've been an education specialist here for almost 10 years now. Prior to that, I was a middle school science teacher out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I graduated from Oral Roberts University with my bachelor's in elementary ed, and then moved on to Mississippi State to get my master's in earth science. So you can see a couple pictures of me there in the tie-dye shirt. I'm there at Yellowstone. If you've ever been out there, I did a capstone course in research for 2 weeks out there, following the hot spot from Idaho all the way up into the Tetons, and really loved that trip. There's a picture of my family in the upper left-hand corner. I have 4 children. My oldest is 23. I have a son in the Navy. He's 20, serving out in San Diego right now. I have a son that's in high school, sophomore, and then a daughter who's in 6th grade. And then that bottom left picture is when I took a visit out to the Kennedy Space Center with my family when I was in high school. And I'm standing in the rocket garden there in that picture. So if you've never been down to Florida to visit the Kennedy Space Center, it's changed quite a bit since that photo was taken 20 some years ago. That, I don't want to give you a hint on how old I am. So next slide. So I am an education specialist at NASA. So what we deal with is STEM engagement. So we want to immerse what NASA does on the broader world stage and engage students in pursuing STEM careers later in life. So we want to grab them, you know, as their STEM interests start increasing. So we encourage students to hook up with our unique opportunities that we have, certain competitions and contests that we host. And we also want to attract diverse groups. So we're really into diversity and inclusion with the writing of our materials. I am on the team that writes the curriculum that you'll be exploring today. And we always keep that in mind as we are developing our products and curriculum. Next slide, please. So this is just an overview of Next Gen STEM, which is my current project. It is anywhere for K to 12 students in school, after school, informal educations, at home, and of course our libraries. And it's just a portfolio of, like I said, products, experiences, challenges, competitive awards like Craig has been awarded through our project, NGS. And it just spans all across educational levels. And we try to reduce barriers to entry, like I talked about, diversity and inclusion ideas. So the next slide introduces you to our NGS Commercial Crew Program. You can see some animated characters here, and they are actually, the students in this picture are our astronaut-yettes. So we've written a couple of storybooks designed for grades K to 4, and each of the books also include one of our challenges. So we have a Astronaut-Yettes Explore Sound on a String, which is one of the activities that you'll be doing with your students through your HOLA kits. And I'd encourage you to bring in this book because it does tie in very well with the activity. And then the other one is Astronaut-Yettes Explore Energy, which brings in our Eggstronaut activity that we've developed. And then we're in the current development of a third about exploring microgravity. So like I said, those are great for K to 4 students, but let me go ahead to the next slide. There's a video that does a really good job to introduce the Commercial Crew Program to you, and it's great to show students of all ages.
NASA's Commercial Crew Program is ready for launch. Did you know the last time we launched astronauts from America was in 2011?
NASA is working with companies Boeing and SpaceX to take astronauts to the International Space Station from America once again. Let's look at how this will happen.
Look at the spacecraft on top of the rocket. This is where humans will be sitting. The astronauts will be buckled into a spacecraft, stacked on top of the rocket as it is launched into space. The rocket holds all of the fuel needed to get to space.
It takes a lot of energy to lift the rocket off the ground, with gravity constantly pulling it down, which is why most of the rocket is filled with fuel. During the rocket's climb to space, it will increase in speed, which means its energy will also increase. Once the rocket has made it past Earth's atmosphere, the engine will finally cut off. The rocket and the spacecraft will separate, and the astronauts will make their way toward the station, where they will be working on science experiments and engineering projects.
What do you think will happen when the spacecraft travels back to Earth?
Boeing has made the Starliner CST-100 to keep astronauts safe as they travel to and from the station. It's designed to touch down safely on land in the western United States. The Starliner has parachutes it will use as it prepares for landing, but will also have large airbags expanding under the spacecraft to cushion the landing for the astronauts before stopping completely.
SpaceX's Crew Dragon was also created to send astronauts to and from the space station. As the spacecraft comes back to Earth, the outside will experience temperatures over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The Crew Dragon has been designed to keep the astronauts inside comfortable during the ride home to Earth. Once they are back in the atmosphere, the spacecraft will release 4 main parachutes to slow down the speed and energy of the vehicle before it splashes down in the Atlantic Ocean or Gulf of Mexico. These spacecraft are exciting sneak peeks at the future of space travel.
And NASA's Commercial Crew Program.
Want to know more about space travel? Check out this website for more information.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I put the link in the chat, and I also want to encourage you to, if you have any questions as I'm talking, to go ahead and put them in the chat as well, because I'm monitoring that for questions. So what is the Commercial Crew Program? So NASA has collaborated with private industries to basically take our astronauts from the United States up to the International Space Station. So before we started the Commercial Crew Program, we were using Russian rockets. Our American astronauts were flying from Russia, and we needed a more cost-effective way to use the International Space Station because we hadn't launched from the Kennedy Space Center as far as humans go since 2011 with the space shuttle. So we retired the space shuttle program, and we've started the Commercial Crew Program to provide that transportation for us from American soil back to the ISS again. So we've had 3 successful flights, and we've got another one scheduled for October. So the launch of these HOLA kits is perfect timing to get your students excited about this coming fall. So you can see there, I'm not going to read everything to you, but you can see we're working closely with companies, looking at safety and requirements, and it's a partnership between NASA, a government agency, and commercial partners. So the next slide talks about who our commercial partners are. Of course, SpaceX. Many of you probably already heard about SpaceX being so close to Texas. You know, he's got a facility there, Elon Musk. He's also launching quite often here from the Kennedy Space Center, but his company has designed a spacecraft called the Crew Dragon that flies on top of a Falcon 9 named after the Millennium Falcon. And its capacity can hold up to 6 astronauts, but at this time he's only flown a maximum of 4 so far. And he relands his boosters and reuses them either on a drone ship or actually out here by the beach. And then when the astronauts return to Earth, they splash down in the Atlantic Ocean, similar to the Apollo days when the Apollo capsule would splash down in the ocean. Boeing is our other partner. Their spacecraft is called the CST-100 Starliner capsule, and they fly atop a proven Atlas V rocket. We use them very often out here to launch satellites. They launch from the Kennedy Space Center off of Launch Complex 41. And their landing is a little bit more unique, and you might want to talk to this about the students that visit your libraries. They will be landing in the desert out near you all in Western United States. So similar to the way the Soyuz capsules return to Earth in Russia, they land in the desert, and so will the Starliner capsule. Their test flight was scheduled for last month, but they had some issues with their capsule, so they've had to reel it back into their hangar to check out some things that they had with some valve issues. So they will probably be launching as well this fall. So I would stay up to date with what's happening with the Starliner. And then the Crew Dragon is slated to launch October 31st. So Halloween, we've got a new crew of 4 launching to the space station. So if we go to the next slide, I can show you who that crew is. And I want to point out to you that we actually have 3 United States astronauts. And then the one down on the left, Matthias Maurer, he's from Germany. So, and also another interesting thing about this crew is only one of these astronauts has been to space. So our commander, Raja Shari, has never flown, but he was a colonel in the Air Force and the director of a test pilot squadron. So he's got quite a lot of experience flying, and test pilots are a good pick for an astronaut. Thomas Mashburn, the pilot, is our astronaut that's flown before. He flew on the Endeavour shuttle and then also on an expedition. So he's flown a Soyuz capsule. Matthias is a mission specialist from Germany. You can see he's also the director of their lunar simulation facility, Luna, in Europe. And then Kayla Barron, this is her first space flight. She's a mission specialist as well, and she was a naval officer aboard a nuclear submarine. So this is our next crew that's going to be going to the station in October. Next slide, please. So these are just benefits to the commercial crew program. So you can see it's regular and reliable. We don't have to spend millions of dollars to Russia to fly our American astronauts, and then we would only maybe get 1 or 2 on each crew. Parallel path means that working with our commercial partners, we're able to not only focus on the International Space Station, but also put more of NASA's resources towards visiting the moon and then on to Mars. So that's where most of our resources are going, and our commercial crew is taking care of the International Space Station. And then of course, all of the research that happens on board of the station, the microgravity research, living and working in space, what happens to our bodies as we live in this microgravity environment, what's going to happen when we actually start colonizing the moon to our physical bodies, when we go to Mars, that 8.5-month trip out there, what's going to happen physically. So being able to launch to a home in space, I like to call it a castle in space, enables us to learn these things closer to home than 3 days away when you're on the moon, or even 8 to 9 months out to Mars. So it's a great orbiting laboratory that we can use to our benefit with the help of our commercial partners. I think the next slide kind of gives you a snapshot of NGS and what we have available. So if you want to do a deeper dive once you're done using your HOLA kits, you can see we've got engineering design challenges for all ages, like the sound on a string, the eggstronaut activity. You can see a little picture of an egg with a parachute there. So your students are designing parachutes to land an egg safely without breaking it. We have classroom activities, coding using computer science. Students can build their own video games, similar to the app that you're going to have your students check out, docking the capsule Dragon to the space station, so they can design their own. And there's an educator guide that will give you what you need to know to lead those activities. We also have digital learning. There's a Ride to Station app similar to SpaceX's. And we also have virtual tours. So there's 7 360-degree virtual tours that we've developed that you can use either VR glasses, or you can just use laptops and tablets to explore those environments. But they're a great way to engage students in the work of the commercial crew. Next slide, please. So I wanted to tell you about this great resource for you. So I mentioned the launches that are happening this fall. We've developed a Launch America STEM Mission Toolkit that not only has those activities that I just mentioned available there for you, but we also have tools for you to teach others. So if you need to train other librarians in your group, or if you're doing educator professional development in-house, there are tools there for you to use, videos and bookmarks that you can print off. We also have an area for you to print and post assets. So if you want to design bulletin boards to liven up your area, or posters or giveaways for your students, all of those assets are there. Multimedia, podcasts, videos, pictures, you name it. And then we also link to all of the nasa.gov resources that are elsewhere on the NASA sites. And then how to stay connected. So I think the next page tells you more about if you want to follow us on social media. We have NGS has their own, I think it's NASA STEM, hashtag NASA STEM. And then there's also STEM on Station resources, and then how to get involved with STEM engagement. I believe Craig is going to share this PowerPoint with you. So I linked to all of those resources in there. But if you need me to drop something in the chat, I'm definitely happy to do that. And I think that's the end of my presentation, but the next slide gives you my email. So if you need any more resources or had questions, and you're a little shy to talk in the chat today, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have for me. So thanks, Craig.
Thank you so much, Jen. And just your partnership and the resources you shared, it's just been so inspiring. You've really brought my childhood fantasies to life through all this STEM work that we're doing together and this NASA stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And all you librarians, use Jen as a resource. She is truly an amazing person.
Yep, that's why we're here. We're here as a resource, and it's a free resource for all of you. So please don't hesitate. I'm happy to help.
So I'm already geeking out, but we have another amazing presenter. And so now we kind of gave you a little bit of overview of what NASA is doing nationally and internationally, and even out of this world. But what is going on here in Nevada? What are some of our scientists studying? And how does that tie into NASA research? Well, one of our researchers here at DRI, Dr. Henry Sun, engages in NASA research every day, right here in our own state. And so what I wanted to do is kind of give you an opportunity to hear about some of the NASA research that's going on here in Nevada so that you could share that with some of your students. So I invited Dr. Sun to share a little bit about his research. So Dr. Sun, welcome.
Thank you, Greg. And good morning, everybody. And thank you, Greg, and Mike for getting the grant and organizing this. This is great. So I'm going to switch gear from what Jean presented. So because I wasn't aware of Jean's talk, so I was giving this picture to show that going to Mars and look for life involve 3 big steps. So the first part is getting there. So Jean covered and look like that part is in good hands with all these new private enterprises participating. I think, hopefully very soon we'll be going to Mars. So the next slide, please. So the second part, I simplify or distill it to as developing instruments, developing tricorders, if you will, that we use to look for life on Mars. We can point to a sample and say, are there living organisms in the sample? So next slide. So at DRI, my focus, my interest is not, after we get there, after we have all the instruments that will bring with us to Mars, then we ask the question, what do Martians look like? Okay, they may not look the same as life on Earth. And the second question, where do you find that? So next slide, please. So with those 2 questions in mind, we kind of wander around in the deserts. So if you are in Las Vegas, you don't have to go very far to get to deserts. So those in Las Vegas would probably know where this is. So 20 minutes, depending on where you live, 20 minutes drive, you are in the Red Rock Canyon. So these are rock, red sandstone boulders that are weathered and falling off the cliffs. And so if you could actually take away the plants, this would look like a Martian landscape. Next slide, please. Now, life, of course, we're not looking, we're not going to find plants, hard plants on Mars. But if you take away the plants, it does mean this landscape is lifeless. So if you walk close as I did here and look at this sandstone boulder, and you see their dark patches on the surface. The same thing actually happens on Mars. This is called desert varnish. It's a manganese rock coating that developed only in the deserts, but not anywhere else. And the white area is peeling off. That's why the black varnish doesn't stick. So what is causing the rock surface to exfoliate, to peel off or spall? Next slide, please. If you take a hammer to it and break it open, and you see there's a green layer under the surface. So if you zoom in further, next slide, please. So, and you look at it under the microscope, these are living organisms, photosynthetic bacteria that live under the surface using the sunlight that penetrates the translucent surface, because sandstone is translucent, it's not transparent, but translucent. And these organisms are sitting in the pore spaces, with a few drops of rain, and they are happy. So these are the things we study, and these are the things that you possibly could find on Mars, even though there's nothing on the surface. Next slide, please. So if you go to Death Valley, drive a little further, you will see a landscape like this. Indeed, there's no plant life to speak of. And you see this, what they call desert pavements, stones that sit on the deserts. It's a very stable surface because the stones kind of stabilize the surface. Next slide, please. If you flip the white stone over, the underside, the lower surface is green. You can see here, and there's a scale bar. This is 10 centimeters. And the green stuff is the same stuff that live in the rocks. So these are the same organisms that are looking for a place to hide, whereas there's a little bit residual water after rain, and they are happy. So again, they are using the sunlight that penetrate the stone, and they are happy. So if you flip a black stone, you don't find it because the black stone does not transmit light. Next slide, please. Now, if you go to the Mojave, if you go in a different direction, go to direct direction of Los Angeles, you probably have seen this landscape. And you see the plants are far apart, and in the interspace, the soil looks lifeless, and it actually looks black. So to most people, this is a lifeless patch of soil, but not to me, of course. You will probably guess the answer. So if you zoom in to the soil surface, it looks black. And then if you zoom in and you look at it under the microscope, these are living organisms with a black skin, with a melanin-luted surface. And then the inside is photosynthetic. You see the green circles. These are cyanobacteria that live in this structure. This is lichenized cyanobacteria and algae. So they thrive in the deserts. So if you take away the higher plants, the entire desert is like a microscopic forest, if you will. It's teeming with life. You just take a special sort of investigation to find it. Next slide, please. So we have been studying this. So the white is black. So lichens, if you go to Florida, where Jane lives, and if you look at the lichens in the forest on the tree barks, they always look kind of greenish. They look the same color because they are microscopic plants. They contain chlorophyll. Plants, lichen in the deserts, never look that color. They look orange, look black, as I shown here, or white. That surface color you are seeing is a UV screening pigment, which blocks the UV, but let the visible light go through. So it's a special adaptation to the desert environment. The same thing we think happens on Mars. If you imagine a surface organism on Mars, you will have to have the same mechanism to protect it. Actually, it's worse on Mars because on Mars, there's no oxygen. Without oxygen, you don't have an ozone shield. UVC, which is lethal, reach the ground. So we have been using these Earth organisms as a proxy, as analog, to see, can these organisms survive on Mars? So we are, and the short answer is, so without going into the detail, the answer is yes, because the same UV shield will block UVC. Okay, so this shows you most organisms we included will be killed in the microorganism, any cell type will be killed in seconds under these conditions. But this organism can survive for weeks. So without going into detail, the answer is that with this UV shield that these organisms can make, you could survive on Mars. Next slide, please. If you go to another direction, again, these are mostly local environments. You are in Death Valley, and Death Valley is a big salt flat. Past climate change, dry up all this standing water, and the salt sort of precipitated, water disappeared. But below ground, there's aquifers, and because the elevation is so low here, the water table is on the surface. So here it essentially shows the surfacing of the groundwater. Now this becomes very interesting. Next slide, please. You see these people walk and created this look like a hiking trail. The surface looks black, and you can see that because these are salts that are brought due to evaporation. but you can almost see the black color, seeing through the surface salt. Next slide, please. If you dug a piece of that sediment out and look at it, so the top is the surface, there's a black layer on the top. So what happens, we have spent quite a few years on this, that the groundwater, which always contains some organics. So as the surface is cooking, is drying, you are essentially thickening the what they call the chicken stock. So the water is evaporating, the salt and the good stuff, that we love to eat is condensed, and condensed at the surface so fast that it depletes the oxygen. And without oxygen, so bacteria, unlike us, they can breathe oxygen when there's oxygen around. When there's no oxygen, they can also breathe sulfate, okay? And as a result, reducing sulfate to sulfide, which is black, okay? So it's essentially turning the surface layer anaerobic, which is very weird because normally you find black mud at the bottom of a lake. But here it's reversed. So there's oxygen in the groundwater, not as much, and there's oxygen above the sediments, of course, but you have an anaerobic sediment sandwiched between two oxic environments, which is very weird because it only happens, as far as we know, in the Death Valley. Next slide, please. And you say, why this is interesting? Because on Mars, the same environment exists. Here, if you stand in the middle of a crater and look around the walls, every spring, this is one theory, there's alternative theories. One theory says that regional aquifers seep through the wall. As the wall gets thawed up, water now can seep through and flow down the slope. This is called a recurring slope lineae. So so Death Valley is a really analog to this environment. You could ask the question, is there organic in the groundwater? We know there's salt, so it's full of salt, just like in Death Valley. But could the same process that happens in Death Valley happen here? So we are on our way to tackling this question. Next slide, please. Again, this shows what I just said. So there's aquifer, the wall is frozen in the winter, so it plugs the seepage. And in the spring, it thaws and the water starts to seep out. So next slide, please. Now we also, once in a while we go far beyond the local desert. So this is a picture in the Antarctic dry valleys, because as good as the Mojave Desert is hot. It's Mars is much colder, right? So to study the effect of cold on biology, we go to Antarctica. In Antarctica, in this part of Antarctica, there's exposed rocks and soils, and you essentially, without this, if you ignore the temperature, it looks like a Mojave. Next slide, please. So we have been studying the sandstone in the background for many years. I have a home improvement project in the background, so I hope it's okay. Can you?
We're fine.
You're fine. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So just to show you that sometimes life surprises you. So we have been studying the organisms that live in the sandstone for the last 50 years. But a few years ago, on my most recent trip, I had life to spend to kill. I was flipping the stones on the ground, and I flipped just by, I wasn't thinking anything. I flipped a black stone, a basalt stone, showing in figure B. And when you flip it over, there's stuff underneath, which I first did not recognize because I wasn't expecting anything. When I brought the sample back and looked at it under the microscope, there's a multi-organism, multi-photosynthetic bacteria that lived under the stone, using the black stone as a solar heater to melt the snow, to melt the ice in the ground, and to survive. Next slide, please. And this is they say the organism under the scanning electron microscope. You can see it better. So this is a filamentous organism. It can glide, which will actually, so with the light now scattered in from the sand below it. So essentially it's a black stone sitting on a beach. So the beach is scattering the light in. But the organism has to now migrate in and out of the stone using motility to stay in the zone of light. So it's a very interesting adaptation as in response to the cold and there's no rain, it's ice. So so it's a special adaptations that are relevant to Mars. So we are also now working on a model, say, could the same thing, could this habitat exist on Mars? Because on Mars, there's no quartz. There's a lot of basalt everywhere. And there's also translucent salts like halite, sulfate. Could we imagine a similar construct on Mars that supports an organism like this? So by investigating extreme environments, we're finding insights that are on Earth, they are rare occurrences, because normally you don't need a black stone. There's a lot of white stone. And those, we get insights, we produce insights that are relevant for the search for life on Mars. Next, please. So as often when we can, when we have funding, we also, when we go to these places, either here or far away, we bring teachers with us, with the idea that this the experience, give them the experience that is as close as being on Mars without being on Mars, so that they can take this sort of enthusiasm, inspirations, and transfer them to their students and get the students involved in our research. Next slide, please. So occasionally we bring kids with us. So I show these pictures because these are my kids. I don't have to ask for permit to show pictures. This was 2020. Now they are much older. Alicia just graduated from college last year. Aaron is a sophomore this year. Next slide, please. I love to involve kids because kids sometimes say the darndest things. So these are two quotes. These are actually real quotes. One kid, this was I think was a second grade girl who asked me, well, how do you know what aliens look like? Which indeed is an answer that professional astrobiologists like myself struggle with, right? Because life that may have originated independently on Mars. So how do we know what they look like? It's a very great question. And the second one is that astrobiology, the search for life on Mars, is too important a task and too fun to be left just to the adults. So kids must get involved. I think that's at the end of my talk. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you, Henry. We'll have some time for some questions in just a bit, but we really want to thank you for presenting that. Right, we had Jen present again how we get up to space. Henry, you presented, all right, now we're up in Mars. Let's study and learn about life on Mars. And now we're going to take you back down a bit and really introduce you to this NASA HOLA project that we are launching today. And NASA HOLA, we know the Spanish word hola, it means hello, but it's also an acronym, and it stands for Hands-on Learning Activities. And here to tell us a little bit more about NASA HOLA is my colleague, Shauna Witt, who's going to walk us through our NASA HOLA kits that you will all be receiving. Shauna, take it away.
Thank you, Craig. If you could do me a favor and pin me. For some reason, I cannot pin myself.
Yeah, let me work on that. Actually, we see you, so you're good.
Oh, awesome. Okay, in that case, never mind. Alrighty, so my name is Shauna. I am the one that kind of helped bring Craig's vision to life to make these 5,000 kits happen to get out to your libraries. So NASA HOLA, like what is it? It stands for Hands-On Learning Activities. And the goal of this was to make these STEM kits as accessible as possible to children throughout the state of Nevada. They are intended for 3rd through 5th graders, and every kit comes in both English and Spanish. So they can go out to pretty much anybody. Next slide, please. So what's inside of these bags? So inside these bags, you get this fun little activity kit. There is a mission instruction manual, which is a flip book. So if you were to flip it over, it would be in Spanish on the other side. There's a large plastic bag with all the materials needed for this kit, as well as in the end, there is a survey card. So once they are finished doing all the activities, they can fill out the card and then bring it back to the library. And in exchange for their survey card, we're giving you guys little reward stickers to give to the kids as an incentive to bring back the survey cards, which in turn you would send back to us, so we can actually collect all the data and see, was this a fun activity or not for the children. Next slide. So here's what's in the plastic bag. These, like, we're giving them everything. Like, they'll need some scissors, they'll need measuring tape, like every little thing that they'll need for these activities are in this bag. Next slide. And so within the bags, there are 3 activities. Their first mission is to build an astronaut lander, which is a little bit of a twist on the parachute astronaut activity that Jennifer talked about earlier with the NASA commercial crew. And basically their goal is to safely land a miniature astronaut without having the astronaut bounce out of their little cup cabin. You can see in the top picture, that's one interpretation of what the lander might look like. There are no correct answers and there are no wrong answers on how to build your astronaut lander. The second mission is Sound on a String, which is your classic tin can with a string activity. And it's just basically designed to explore how sound travels and then to see if they can stop the sound, because with rocket launches, they're so loud that you can feel the vibrations and hear it for miles. And because of how loud they are, the rockets are actually at risk of shaking apart. So a lot of engineering has to go into making sure that the sound vibrations don't actually destroy the rockets as they're launching into space. And then mission 3 is actually an online activity, and it's the docking station. And so they're going to be challenged to safely dock at the International Space Station with this game, which uses the same interface controls that astronauts actually use to dock at the station. Next slide. And while our instruction manuals have all of the instructions on how to get through every activity, we also created videos that run through the instructions and explanations as well. And those are on separate postcards that we actually just received yesterday. So they are not in the kits, but they are being included in your boxes. So when you hand out the kits, we ask that you hand out a postcard as well for them. And then to access the videos, all they have to do is take their phone, turn on the camera app, and point their camera app right at that QR code, and their phone will automatically read the QR code and open up the link to the video playlist. If they don't understand how to do that, we also have a tiny URL link included there as well that they can just type into their browser and pull up the YouTube list for all the video instructions as well. Next slide. Alrighty, so once that is done, please encourage the children to complete the survey cards in their kits, and each library branch has been provided an envelope like what you see to collect all the survey cards in before mailing them back to us. For every survey that's returned, or we also have an online survey. So if they are able to show proof that they submitted the online survey, the child gets their NASA HOLA sticker, like their little reward for completing this activity. And next slide. Alrighty, so dates and deadlines. Shipment, we are starting shipping today. As soon as this presentation is over, I'm heading downstairs to help get these boxes out. And we'll be shipping from today up until the end of the week. Once it arrives, you are free to start distributing the kits. I forgot to mention, these kits are intended to be given to the kids to take home and complete if they want. If you were planning on doing like an in-person activity at your libraries as part of your youth programming, I would suggest 2 to 4 hours, because we had our, over the summer, we hired some teens to put together the kits, and we had them do all the activities. And it took them almost 2 hours, the teenagers, to just build the astronaut landers. So you take that combined with the sound on a string and the docking station, that's easily 4 hours of fun for a child. So if you're planning on doing anything, keep that in mind. Or like we said, like they're designed, fully packaged, ready to go home if you want as well. If you want to advertise this on your websites, feel free to email me at shauna.witt@dri.edu for promotional images, like some of the things that you saw on the slide, or even just our NASA HOLA logo. So you can just slap it up there on the website as part of your scheduling. We do ask that you return the surveys, get them in the mail by Halloween, by October 31st. Just so that we have time to go through them all and collect all the data and sort it and whatnot. I believe all the surveys have been labeled, but if I missed any, here is the address, Craig at DRI, 755 East Flamingo Road, Las Vegas, Nevada. And we do have them labeled, but postage will be on the libraries to send back. And I believe that's it. Is there any more slides? Are there any more slides? And yeah, if you have any questions, challenges, or just want to share a story, definitely contact us and let us know.
Great, thank you, Shauna. I really appreciate, again, all of the work that you put into making NASA HOLA the success that it's going to be. And now, librarians, we want to emphasize again, we don't want this to be anything that is extra on your plate. We know we're always given programs, and we have to figure out a way to make this work. We wanted this to be something that was just a resource for you and something that you can hand out at your library. So you could, again, as Shauna said, you can incorporate this any way you'd like. You can create a program around it. If you have a program or want to create one, beautiful, go for it. Or if you don't, we just ask that you pass these out to our 3rd through 5th grade students who might walk into the library as a take home for them to get some of these NASA resources in their home and to do the challenges. So any way you want to run this, you're free to do that, which we thought would be the best way to launch this. The only thing we ask of you really is to collect those survey cards. It's really important for us to report back to NASA how we used their funds. It's really important for the libraries to show this, because this grant is under the library, state library. So we want to make sure we show our data that these were used and used successfully and happily. And again, if you do want a program around this and you want DRI's support, we can also do that. We can zoom in, or if you're here down in Las Vegas, we can come in and do something in addition, or up in the Reno, Carson area, we also have some staff up there who might be able to pop in. With that said, we want to open this up to any questions that we might have missed, anything that you have questions about for either Jen, for Mike, for Jen, for Dr. Sun, or for the NASA HOLA team. So we'll open that up for questions. So simply you can either type in or chat, or you can unmute.
Also, I would like to throw in, while we're waiting for questions, if you have not responded, I sent out an email earlier this week, or no, not earlier this week, late last week, asking everyone to confirm their mailing addresses for the libraries. If you have not responded to me, please double check your emails and get back to me as soon as possible. I just want to emphasize this because I did have at least 3 corrections to the mailing addresses that we do have for all the libraries. If you cannot find that email, just shoot me an email just stating your point of contact library for your district that we can send all the boxes to.
That's a great point, Shauna. Yeah, we're sending them to 21 districts that we were given the address for. And then it's the district, the central district office, who then will distribute it to the individual libraries, that's my understanding. So if there's any challenges or questions about that, definitely let us know, and we can try and help you out. We do have a question for Henry, Dr. Sun. Where else in the world is astrobiology research being performed?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm one of probably hundreds of people. Astrobiology is as you can imagine, that everybody around the world are doing this. People are looking in places like so there's actually another astrobiologist, microbiologist at DRI whose name is Dwayne Moser, who looks for life going deep, like kilometers, miles deep. So way beyond the influence of the surface processes. You are getting really, deep underground. We call it the deep subsurface. There are people who go to extreme acidic, like acidic pools, places there's radiation intensive, like the nuclear reactor. And we always find life. The answer is wherever you go, you find life. People study, could clouds be inhabited? Why not inhabited? So it's really, astrobiology think this way, it's really kind of force us to break the conventional boundaries, because what we thought, say, life couldn't exist in the hot springs in Wyoming. What was the national park, Yellowstone? And for sure we did. Life could exist in hot water up to 110. Temperatures we used to sterilize stuff in the hospital. That's what doctors do. They put all the knives and scissors, through autoclaving. That's an autoclaving temperature. Some life thrives under this environment. So there's all kind of places where people go.
Thanks, Henry. Hey, Jen, when is what's it NASA's like? We talked about Artemis, right? It's the next generation of going to the moon and then to Mars. So when is our next launch to the moon going to be?
That's a great question, Craig. So we right now have been stacking the new Space Launch System rocket here at the Kennedy Space Center in the Vehicle Assembly Building. And they have pretty much all of the rockets stacked except for Orion, which will be the crew capsule, and the launch abort system that sits on top of it, the little pencil looking item at the top. So we expect to have a test launch of that vehicle by the end of this year. So to give you an idea of the size of this rocket, it's about the same height as the Saturn V rocket that launched Apollo to the moon. So this first flight is a test flight, unmanned, but it will be sending Orion around the moon. And it's going to go even further than the Apollo capsule has ever gone. So it's a pretty historic launch, and we expect it to be by end of November, beginning of December. The launch date has not been set yet, but that's what we're expecting. So a lot happening by the end of this year.
So it looks like I'm going to be moving to Florida so I could be there too to watch that.
Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm not moving. I got to see a launch last time I was with you, though. That was pretty amazing to actually witness a launch. So I'm sure this next one is going to be huge to get us there. But isn't NASA saying like the very first Martian is going to be one of our fourth graders now, something like that?
Yeah, that's what I would always say when I would go out and teach fourth and fifth graders. It was like somebody in this classroom might actually be the first person to set foot on Mars, you know, because that's the generation, the ones that are going out into those libraries to get those HOLA kits. One of those kiddos may be our first Martian. Exactly right.
And so you can be that inspiration behind that, librarians. You could say, I helped inspire a young person to move to Mars, or to actually explore Mars. There was a question in the chat
Correct.
Hold on, Henry. Let me just get to this. Jen, somebody was asking where they could get the books you were talking about.
Yeah, I will put those links to those 2 books in the chat for you.
Great. And it was really exciting to hear from Jess at Churchill County in Fallon. She kind of gave a little preview on how she plans on using these NASA HOLA kits, maybe incorporating them into her after-school program and STEAM programs in Fridays. So I look forward to hearing more about that, Jess. Maybe librarians, as you're thinking through this, if you have other ideas on how you're going to incorporate this, maybe type that in and share with some of your colleagues. And then, Henry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just want to chime in to what Jane said. In Space Worldbound program, this is the same message that actually motivated that, because the turnover of a mission, I mean, went from the conception to where it happens, is such a long time. By the time people get going to Mars, it will be like 20 years from now. If you start a Martian human mission to Mars tomorrow, it wouldn't be 30-year-old astronaut today in the core, but it will be the 5th graders, the 2nd graders, as Jen said. So I think that's a really important message. We have to start the preparation today.
So chances for me of going to Mars is basically none.
I'm sorry to tell you, probably not, but your daughter maybe, probably yes.
Yeah, I'm already priming her. She's in 6th grade, so she might have missed the cut already.
There you go.
Good, Jess, you got the book links, which is great. Any other librarians thinking about how they might want to utilize our NASA HOLA kits? Please share your thoughts in the chat, or simply unmute. We're happy to hear from you. So in addition to the kits and the hands-on, I think, I know Shauna talked about our videos. So I just want to make sure that that you do have these, you'll get these video postcards as well, because they really do walk them through the activities, and they give some background information for our young people to watch. And again, the videos were produced in both English and in Spanish. So we have 2 different sets of the videos. So we really wanted to make this bilingual and accessible for every single Nevadan. So hopefully we've accomplished that. Thanks, J. Peacock Burton. I don't know where you're from, but thank you for your enthusiasm. We're excited too, if you can't tell. Hey, you know what would be great is everybody just type in what library or what county you're with. That way we can kind of see who's here as well. Everybody take a moment and type that in. So we have Washoe, which is awesome. Yay, wow, Washoe is really delivering. And Carson and North Las Vegas, yay. You guys are picking up your kits, North Las Vegas, you're picking them up, I believe, today here at DRI. Elko's here in Henderson. It's great to have you. That's my city. Humboldt and Winnemucca, great. I'm so excited for Winnemucca. I have a friend, a colleague who works out there. Oh, Virginia City. I have never been to Virginia City, but I look forward to visiting one of these days. I hear it's beautiful. And North Valleys, of course, great. Did we get everybody? So we have representation from all over the state, which is really exciting. And we hope that these get utilized all over the state. So we produced 5,000 kits, and we had an army of high school students that Shauna, you oversaw, who actually put all these materials in 5,000 kits. So if you could just imagine, it took them all summer, quite the project. And if we do this right, and we show to NASA that Nevada knows how to do this, we might be able to produce these kits for other states as well. So let's do this right, and let's get some data back for NASA to gauge how well we did. So we really need your help on this. With that said, I know that we scheduled this till 9:45, so I'm happy to stay on the line until then. But if there's nothing else and no other questions that you might have, I want to thank you for spending the morning with us, getting a little information about NASA HOLA and being our mission specialists and launching this program. And Mike, do you want to give us any closing words on behalf of the Nevada State Libraries, Archives, and Public Records?
Nope, it was a great presentation. Thank you all for doing it. And thanks everyone for attending this morning. We look forward to seeing how it goes. And as you say, Craig, we look forward to getting the surveys back and seeing how everyone did and how useful it was. So I'm very excited.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you every single librarian here in the state for all the work that you do every single day. You are heroes to me and to our community. Big thanks to Jen and to Henry for being here today. And again, we'll stay on if you have any other questions, but otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Craig.
Yes.
So for those who are staying, I have a question for Jen. It's a little bit tangential to HOLA program. HOLA, how do you say it? HOLA?
Hola.
HOLA, okay. It's a Hawaiian?
No, it's a Spanish. Spanish means
yeah,
hello.
Yeah,
hola.
Yeah, thank you. Hola, hola. Okay. So Jen, I know based on my sort of what I see in the NASA messages that students, kids could be part of could design experiments and have them sent to the International Space Station. Could you very briefly tell us what opportunities? I'm thinking that based on this this program that Craig is doing, there might be lead to a lot of participation in other programs. In other words, direct participation of research on the International Space Station for students.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just digging into our next gen STEM resources because there are plenty of opportunities for students to get involved in NASA's current work. So what you mentioned was students working with an educator or a facilitator of some kind to develop an experiment that will be launched to the International Space Station or in a small satellite called a CubeSat. And they can develop this experiment, have it launched, and they get real-time data back. And they share that data with NASA researchers and scientists, and they're actually true citizen science that, getting their hands involved with what NASA's doing and the work involved. So yeah, there's that opportunity where you can launch, a CubeSat satellite. But they can also become citizen scientists. There are, I think, currently about 15 different projects that NASA is doing that students can get involved in. And that would be under NASA's citizen science links. They can also participate with a downlink. So that's something libraries might want to get involved with. You can actually talk to a current sitting astronaut on the space station and have a conversation live with that astronaut. So you can sign up to do one of those downlinks with your audiences, whether it's informal museums, libraries, all of that. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunities. I'm trying to see, here, I'm gonna put this in the chat. This is what we have for the summer opportunities, but we put out a flyer like this pretty often. And you also might want to sign up for the NASA Express Mail, and that keeps you up to date on a weekly basis. There's a web email that goes out on Thursdays that tells you about all the current opportunities, not just for your students and groups that come in, but for you, professional development opportunities through the summer. Like Henry was saying that they like to bring teachers with them when they go and do these explorations. Well, NASA's the same way. We want to inspire you so you can inspire your students. So there are opportunities throughout the year for you to get involved, go visit a center, get professional development. There are 10 centers around the country, not just Kennedy or Houston. A lot of people don't think about it, but there are several in California. JPL, Ames, Armstrong. So there's 3 in California, very close to where you all are, but then all the rest around the country. So I'm going to see if I can find a link to that NASA Express Mail, but that is definitely something that you want to sign up for. Any other questions about that, Henry?
Oh, that's great. Oh, this is exactly what I was looking for. Yes, I think there, for example, the Express email, NASA Express, perhaps maybe the librarians could print it out and post wherever they post stuff for the community to see. Based on my experience working, doing outreach in the local communities, there's people just not aware what they could do. I think the librarians could really be the missing link that, I'm excited to see that the whole thing explode here in Nevada. So by the way, I think CubeSat, I'm aware of that. NASA is because Nevada is one of the few states that hasn't participated. So Craig, are you listening?
I'm listening.
Okay.
In fact, I just got an email yesterday about a project, a NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge, which is exactly what you're talking about. And they want DRI to get involved and spread the word. So
Excellent.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Henry. It's really, NASA has so many different opportunities to collaborate and to be part of, and great resources. I get lost for hours just digging through the website.
So do I.
And every time I turn to another one, it's like, oh, that really pertains to us, and we could do this, and we could do that, and we could do this. Right? There's a whole. We talked last time I was with you about mining on Mars, and right, Nevada is rich in mining. We have so much mining going on here, and so why don't we make those connections? We're going to need to mine on Mars, so why don't we figure out something to do with Nevada and mining? And connect that to NASA. So that's going to be my next project.
Yeah.
So actually, we just Craig, we just actually have a new project funded to do not mining but extraction. NASA said extraction of resources from the Martian regolith, because there's no soil on Mars. There's dust and there's rocks. So how do you grow crops without soil? And I told them, in the proposal that if you look at the plants, the trees that grow on the cliffs, they don't have soils, but their roots have a way of extracting the nutrients from the rocks. So anyway, we need to study. So the objective of the project is to understand how those plants do getting their nutrients from the rocks. Maybe you can transfer those mechanisms into the crop that we want to grow on Mars. We're not going to grow trees on Mars, but the mechanisms perhaps are transferable by way of genetic engineering, whatever. So this is very exciting. So there are a lot of things one could do in Nevada, in the desert. Just a lot of people are not aware of the connections, the possibility of connections. So I think pass the word around.
You always got something new. You always got something new to share. I mean, that's fascinating. Yeah. I can't wait to learn more about that work.
So things that are may not be obvious. So it requires a lot of sort of innovative thinking, think outside the box. So we don't have to go far to really, to do a field trip for students. You could just drive 20 minutes out, 40 minutes out, and have a great education experience climate change, Mars, all within a day trip.
So when we have these opportunities, we usually think to invite teachers, but I expand that and I say educators. And so I want to mention that because librarians are educators, and you are all always invited to our professional development trainings or our special opportunities. So hopefully we can, I can connect with you, Mike, and kind of give you the word when we're doing these kind of things, and you can share that around. So we can have our full education community represented and part of these things. Great. Any other questions, comments, resources you're looking for? Again, thank you to everybody for being here. I'm glad you all are excited as I am about this project. And again, kudos to my colleagues and friends, Jen and Henry, and Shauna, you are truly the launch behind the launch. So you should deserve a huge pat on the back and maybe a Starbucks. All right, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we'll connect real soon. Look for your NASA HOLA kits coming in the mail through FedEx in the next week. Take care, everyone.